Alright, so good morning students. Today we're going to talk about protein synthesis and mutations. So what does the majority of the cellular work in our bodies? Those are going to be proteins, okay? So you're filling this information out on your packet. Make sure you write your name and the class date as well as your class period. I know there's no blank for the period, but make sure you write your class period on these notes. Again, protein synthesis and mutations notes. So proteins are going to do the majority of the cellular work in our bodies. Those are the little machines. Remember, they help in cell membrane transport. They serve as structural molecules. They code for various traits, whether or not you have 5 fingers or 6 fingers on each hand. That has to do with proteins as well. They also perform chemical reactions as enzymes. Those are the ones that are going to speed up the process. And to make proteins, cells must follow a set of instructions from DNA. Remember, last class we went from DNA to RNA to proteins. Okay, so again, the first blank here is going to be proteins. What is the process of making proteins? That's going to be called protein synthesis. Protein synthesis. And it's made up of 2 processes, transcription and translation. Remember last class we talked about how things are transcribed. In Spanish, escribir means to write. So you're going to rewrite going from DNA to RNA. Or you're going to go from the nucleic acid to the amino acid, which would be translation. That would be the second step. So where does transcription take place? It happens in the nucleus of eukaryotic cells. This is where the DNA is located. DNA never leaves the nucleus. DNA always stays in the nucleus for eukaryotic cells. During transcription, DNA serves as a template for messenger RNA. So we talked about just RNA before. This is going to be a very specific RNA called messenger RNA, and it's abbreviated little m, big R, big N, big A. The bases of DNA are matched with the corresponding mRNA bases. So remember that adenine normally matches with thymine in DNA, but when we're going from DNA to RNA, it's going to match up with uracil. Cytosine matches still with guanine. After the single strand of mRNA is made, it travels out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm to begin the process of translation. So where does translation occur? Translation occurs at the ribosome. This is the cellular organelle that makes proteins, and it's also going to be made up of proteins as well. During translation, blank serves as a template strand for chains of blank that turn into blank. Okay, so we got 3 blanks here. During translation, RNA serves as a template for chains of amino acids that turn eventually, once you string a bunch of amino acids together, remember you're going to get a protein. Every 3 mRNA bases is called I apologize that this goes on to the next slide, but is called a codon, and matches to an anticodon on a transfer RNA. Transfer RNA we also abbreviate as little t RNA, which brings the corresponding amino acid to the ribosome. When several amino acids are linked together, this is when we get a protein. Okay, so a codon is just 3 nitrogen bases, and an anticodon is the 3 nitrogen bases that would pair to that for the tRNA. The tRNA is going to be a molecule that carries the amino acid and starts linking them up at the ribosome. So let's go ahead and continue there. So we worked a little bit on our codon charts. We saw the circle one, which for a lot of you guys was a lot easier, but then we also saw a square one. The square one is the one that's going to be on the test, so make sure you know how to use the square codon chart. Okay. A common misperception is that the different cells have different DNA because they serve different functions. That is not true. All cells have the same 4 nucleotides, but different DNA is going to be processed in each cell. Okay? This process is called cell differentiation. Okay, so we have the same 4 nucleotides, okay, but they're going to be processed a little bit differently, and this process is called cell differentiation. There are 3 types of RNA. There's messenger RNA, transfer RNA, and ribosomal RNA. So messenger RNA, remember that's going to be little m RNA. This is the one that carries the genetic message from the DNA in the nucleus to the ribosome. Then we have transfer RNA, which is little t RNA. This is going to bring amino acids to the ribosome. And then we have ribosomal RNA, which is going to make up the ribosome. Alright, so what are our top 10 facts? Protein synthesis is the process of making proteins into the DNA code. Transcription happens in the nucleus. In transcription, mRNA is made from DNA. Remember that A goes to U and C still goes to G. While translation happens outside of the nucleus inside the ribosome. In translation, proteins are made from RNA. Proteins are made from mRNA. tRNA brings amino acids to the ribosome. rRNA makes up the ribosome, and every 3 mRNA bases is called a codon. This matches up with an anticodon. All cells are going to have the same DNA, and cell differentiation happens when different DNA is expressed. Alright, so I want you to spend the next few minutes trying to fill in this fill in the blank. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the second paragraph. And 1, 2, 3, 4 in the third paragraph. Okay? You're going to have your word bank down here. Remember, if you use a word, don't cross it out, because it's still possible that you could use it again. Okay? And some of these words aren't going to be used, and sometimes you have to actually use words that aren't even here. So try your best to fill this out. I expect this to be due. This concept map we could skip over. I want to make sure that you guys come into tutorials. To do this, okay? This page right here, you have to say yes or no, and you have to place each statement into the appropriate column. So, does this process occur at the ribosome? You would say yes or no. So, for transcription, does it occur at the ribosome? Yes or no? The correct answer would be no. Transcription occurs in the nucleus, okay? Instead, translation would happen in the ribosome. So you have to do the other 8. There's 3 true and false questions that you have to do, and I want you guys to do all of the multiple choice, okay? This will be graded, all of the multiple choice. Best of luck, guys.